Hi, welcome to Portage County Matters. I'm Patty Dreier, Portage County Executive. Really glad to have you with us today. My guest today is Interim Mayor Gary Wescott. It will be an exciting show, you can be sure. My hands will be really full in trying to manage as the person who gets to host the show. Anyway, we'll get to Gary in just a minute. We've got 3 different news notes for you first. I wanted you to know that I've appointed Matthew Dykstra as our new Emergency Management Director here in Portage County. Matthew's a rising star, I would call him, and I'm really proud to have the opportunity to appoint him. He earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh in Fire and Emergency Response Management, which is a FEMA recognized emergency management program, as well as Leadership and Organizational Studies. He's currently studying through Georgetown University for an executive master's in emergency and disaster management with an anticipated graduation in August this year. He's a local. He grew up and graduated out of Mosinee High School. So this is the community that he loves, and he wants to continue his service. He entered active military duty service right after high school and worked in fire and emergency services for the United States Air Force for 6 years. He recently completed his state certification in emergency management, and he's got a lot of other great experiences to bring to the table, great education to bring to the table, and a passion for emergency management. As of the taping of this show today, the state of Oklahoma experienced tornadoes last night, and all of us know how important the emergency management role is in helping us build our preparedness in our community, helping us be safer in taking care of ourselves, more prepared to take care of ourselves, but then also responding to emergencies and disasters such as tornadoes. So anyway, you'll get to know Matthew a whole lot more. His confirmation is on the way through the county board in April, and that means that he pending a confirmation through the board, he'll start as our permanent emergency management director on April 22nd. There's 2 other news notes. One, very fast, following up on our groundwater work that we've been doing. The groundwater summit that I had originally forecast to take place in the month of March will be moved to April. We don't have a date set yet, but we've been giving a lot of attention to the proposed state budget changes and responding to some concerns that we have, and that's just taken the priority. So we'll get back to groundwater coming soon, just in time for later spring. So thank you for standing by on that. And the final news note before we get to Mayor Wescott is the idea that next it will have already happened by the time the show is posted, but I really think it's important for you to know that I'm hosting a press conference on March 31st at 11 a.m. at the Aging and Disability Resource Center here in Stevens Point. This is our Aging and Disability Resource Center, Lincoln Center as many people know it, for Portage County. The press conference has a title. It's called Hear the Voices of the People. Wisconsin elders, people with disabilities, and their advocates speak on proposed state biennial budget changes to aging and disability resource centers and long-term care. There are a lot of different perspectives on these changes to the budget for ADRCs and for long-term care and IRIS, which is a self-directed support program for people with various kinds of disabilities. And basically, I just think that the topic is so important that putting together a press conference to provide the scope of views on the subject and how these impacts will change our lives and our communities is a really important thing. I want to read for you the paragraph that I have in the press release, as it gives you a really good summary of the reason why we're doing this and what would be happening during this event. You will definitely hear more about it as we move through the month of April, and there will still be time for anybody who wishes to contact their legislators about how they feel these proposed changes may affect them. So basically, again, I'm hosting this press conference. It says on the press release, facilitating this opportunity for citizen voices to be heard on the sweeping proposed changes to aging and disability resource centers and long-term care in Wisconsin. Since the people, organizations, and communities most affected by these proposed changes had not been consulted prior to development of the governor's proposal, this press conference is intended to let their voices be heard. At this event, disabled and elderly individuals and their advocates will address matters of daily health and well-being, as well as personal liberty, and the importance of access, stability, and choice in their lives to maximize their independence. Stakeholder voices will also address how the proposed changes dismantle critical, local, community capacities that support our citizens, such as you, our viewers, as well as how our local economies will be negatively affected. In addition to media coverage attracted through this press conference, a video will be created for social media to help spread awareness and hopefully inspire informed and compassionate decision-making by our state leaders and legislators in support of Wisconsinites. Again, thank you for giving this some attention, learning about it, and ensuring that your own voice is heard on subjects that you feel strongly about. You know, you can always count on our county executive office to help connect you with the information that you're looking for. And anyway, I am so honored to have the opportunity to provide support to the show like this to get the word out. And now I want to turn attention to this dignitary in my presence, right?
Who would that be?
Yeah, Interim Mayor Gary Wescott, who's also our former mayor, 12 years of service to the city of Stevens Point. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here, and thank you for your leadership on that issue you were just talking about. That in itself, and I will be joining the county executive that day to support your work in that area. It's important, as you had mentioned, that this is one of those items that no one seems to know where it came from, the genesis of this, why is it started. You and I have had conversations about what's going on with the state budget as it impacts the state university system, and college professor after college professor did not see this coming. No one's been talking about it, especially since 2 years ago, as you know, executive, the university system had taken such devastating cuts just 24 months ago. No one really thought that was coming. So that's an important point, and thank you for your leadership on that.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and I don't feel as passionate about many things in my whole life as I do speaking up for those that may not be able to speak for themselves.
And that's part of what we do.
This is just really important. Well, you were mayor from 1995 to 2007, so you had left office by the time I came in 2010, and now here you are back. So I get the opportunity, even in this almost 5 months, to work with you in your interim mayorness. I'm making up words here.
Yeah, I like it. It works. It's okay. Yeah,
So how's it been going?
It's going great. As I have said, and you've heard me say this, and many of your viewers have too, it's the greatest job in the world. Now, you're going to disagree with me on that, but one of the things that I've always liked about the position is the fact that you, as you had mentioned a moment ago, you can be a voice for those whose voices are not always heard. You can help individuals individually. No one's going to read about it in the paper. No one's going to see it on the news, but you're able to intervene, maybe write a letter, a couple of phone calls, and get a solution, get an answer for an individual. So it's going well. It's fun to be back. Everybody frequently says, and I think you were one of them, is what's it like to be back? Has it been difficult? And I say, no, it's just like riding a bicycle. I mean, you do something for 12 years, and a lot of the issues, as you well know, are similar to issues we felt that we had handled more than one time in the 12 years that I was here. But it's a wonderful opportunity, and I'm honored that the City Council asked me to return. I'm honored that they elected me, and it's been a real pleasure to serve for about 5 months.
Now, you promised when you came in for this 5 months or so that the city wasn't just going to be holding on, you know, just sort of filling the time until a newly elected mayor would come into office in April, but that you were going to continue moving ahead. So could you outline for us a few of the areas of progress that you've made?
Well, that's an excellent question. As you and I have talked about, the city had in its past immediate history, last 35, 40 years, 2 interim mayors, both wonderful people, great individuals that you would really enjoy spending time with, cared deeply about the community, but neither one of them had ever spent any time working in a mayor's office. And fundamentally, I watched as a private citizen, the city went on hold while they were waiting for the next election. So I had said to the alderpersons that we're going to continue to push the city forward. We're going to push initiatives. We're going to very aggressively pursue things, and we have done that. Take a look at the final decisions that we have been able to reach when it comes to the floodplain adjustment, the seawall for the city of Stevens Point. We have pushed to almost completion the final work, and so much work behind the scenes on the Country Club Drive overpass. We have had to do very aggressive work in preparing the city to begin addressing its debt service issues through work with our bond consultant. We've done a number of initiatives in our wards as far as new strategies for garbage and recycling collection, new strategies that we've applied for snow removal. So, I could fill up your entire half hour today, and I think every department head and director would say to you that we have had a very aggressive, very productive 4.5 months in the city of Stephen, and I'm very proud of the work they've done. They have responded well to the let's speed it up here a little bit. Let's shift from 4th gear into 5th gear and see what we can get accomplished between now and the time the new administration gets here on April the 21st. And the city staff, the managers, directors, they have responded. They've done a great job.
Well, I would tell you, certainly working side by side with Mayor Halverson during his tenure and at least part of his tenure and my time here, the city's always been moving forward. I mean, in a wonderful pace, a fast pace. There's no sitting around here in our area. It's a happening place, as some people have said to me recently, citizens coming from other places. But I will tell you, I do notice that, yeah, you haven't missed, we in the city, you in the city, viewers in the city, nobody's missed a beat here.
No, not at all. And that's really one of the nice things about this community. We talk about the energy and how vibrant this community is. It's an energy you feel, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. We have the diverse economy that we have long talked about in this community. We have a wonderful college here at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. We have premier employers in Century Insurance, Skyward, AIG, Berkshire Hathaway, so many. Of course, you start naming names, somebody go, why didn't they mention this? So many wonderful employers. And the other really interesting dynamic about this community is that daytime population that we have chatted about before. That Stevens Point has a population of about 27,000 people. But during most of the day, this population in this community doubles. The daytime population is in excess of 54,000 people coming in to go to work, go to school, go to the university. So I think that adds to the vibrance of the community by bringing so many people into the community, and people who genuinely care about the future direction of the community, who are so willing, as you well know, to get engaged in the community, to stop at City Hall and offer a thought, an idea, send an email. There's a real sense of engagement that people have, which is so much appreciated.
There are so many amazing and wonderful assets to our community. I mean, my husband and I, before we were married, we were both at the university as students, and we could have chosen anywhere to settle down after we were married 30 plus years ago, but we chose the Stevens Point area in Portage County. We chose it. Again, we could have gone anywhere. We were living around the world as in military service and so on and so forth. But we chose this, and the reason is it really has so much going for it. It continues to have so much going for it. The quality of life here is so incredibly high. We don't sit and wait in traffic jams and waste our time, at red lights, if you would. And our citizens are people who really get their hands into the dirt, get working on it, and put their sweat equity into making our community an even better place.
Well, when you talk about people who put their hands into the dirt, there are so many different advocacy groups in this community who represent their points so well. And it's dangerous to start talking about one or two, but let me give you an example. In the Central City area, you have the Old Main Neighborhood Association. Cindy Niebel and a whole collection of her neighbors who are just powerful advocates for the inner city, who take great pride in their neighborhoods and have a passion for preserving those neighborhoods as something they can be proud of for generations to come. There are communities that don't have organizations like that, and you can see where there's been change or deterioration. But when you take a look at Stevens Point, you have individuals who care deeply about pedestrian and bicycling issues. As you well know, people who care about groundwater, people who care about our neighborhoods. There are just public transportation advocates. And people, I think the key here is one of the successes that I think Stevens Point and the Stevens Point, Portage County area have is people are so prepared to engage and become a part of the solution. How many times have you heard me say
Absolutely.
that for years when I was here, the first 12 years, how many members of the community served on city commissions, and boards? The university had strong representation. Our police and fire commission at one point had the dean of the College of Business and the vice chancellor provost both sitting on the Police and Fire Commission, the Housing Authority, City Plan Commission, our Comprehensive Planning Group.
And just use the United Way example too. But this is precisely what brings it, connects back to the news note at the top of the show related to the Aging and Disability Resource Center. What we do is we have on a regular basis over years, with the help of so many different individuals, created these community capacities that make our quality of life what it is. If you need somebody that helps you with your daily chores because you can't do it for yourself so that you can keep living in your own home, then the ADRC has the list of certified background checked individuals that you can choose from. It's a one-stop shop for that kind of connection. Well, again, we're such a highly evolved community that way. So there are so many places that we go, each one of us have experienced, that don't have these kinds of community capacities that truly make the difference. Sometimes you look around, you're like wondering what's missing in a community, but if you really dig deeper, you'll find out. It's about the engagement of people. It's about the resources that help them age in place. It's about the resources that ensure that young professionals stay living there and contributing to the vibrancy of the community, and so on it goes. So it's just, we've got it. We've just got to continue to nurture and support and facilitate those great directions for our whole community. And when I say that, I mean certainly beyond the borders of the city of Stevens Point, because we're all connected, all 27 of us municipalities here.
That's right,
so,
and that's a very good point. How many times have I said over the years, especially the 12 that I was here, if you fly over the Stevens Point area, I mean, you don't necessarily, unless you have lived here for a long time, you cannot necessarily discern, well, where is that border between Park Ridge and Stevens Point, Whiting, Plover? It looks like one big metropolitan area from the air, and that's a good approach for planning. Yes.
And also just beyond the county borders. I mean, some people might think that we think so inwardly, like the issues just stop at the political border or the county border.
Never.
But we do a lot of regional work, and so anyway, it's the right thing to do. Well, so let's talk about, what do you see as the main issues and challenges facing the city and our wider community, from where your perspective is?
Well, we've touched on some of them here already today. You have very genuine threats to all of us statewide from what's going on in Madison. You take a $300 million cut to a university system, and you're taking and very negatively impacting a world-class university system. And as I have frequently said, the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point is one of the key economic engines that drives the central Wisconsin economy. And you are so negatively impacting a key economic engine and the creativity, the research and development that's going on here with those huge cuts. That's an immediate threat, and going forward in time to continue to address that. You addressed one when it comes to the programs at the Lincoln Center. I've always called it the Lincoln Center. It's been the Lincoln Center. So those are certainly issues that are very real, they're significant, and we need to be mindful and engaged in that area. There are so many other things in the city of Stevens Point. You have ongoing issues with financial issues, debt capacity issues. The next administration is going to have to spend every day of the next administration working with Corey Laddick, our comptroller treasurer for the city, with the chairpersons of finance, and to address, the issues of debt capacity, the ability to borrow and invest money in the community. You have a variety of quality of life issues, from public transportation, which has always been one of my passions in the community, to not only take this public transportation system, but to enhance it and make it stronger. So there are so many things, but there are always issues that we work on. There are issues that we have to address. But I think right now, as you and I sit here and chat, the biggest concern for all of us should be what's going on in Madison. And I'll give you another quick example. There's currently an idea floating in Madison to basically eliminate the personal property tax, which I believe you are familiar with. And in light of that, they would also, the state lawmakers would eliminate the aid that comes to municipalities. It's a computer subsidy for computer systems. Well, if you peel both of those back and say, well, we've cut taxes. If you're a state lawmaker, your talking point is we've cut taxes. We've eliminated the personal property tax. But all you're doing there is taking and transferring tax from one aspect of your economy to another aspect of your economy. You know, that retired couple living on the north side on a fixed income, their taxes are going to go up because it's been taken from the corporate sector, the business sector, and that tax has now been applied to the private homeowner. In the city of Stevens Point, if this were to come to fruition, the average tax bill would increase by about $134 a year per household. So you haven't really eliminated a tax, you simply transferred a tax. And those are always things that municipal leaders, county executives have to watch for, that folks in Madison are frequently, they get a lot of press coverage that we've eliminated a tax, which would technically be true. But you've transferred that tax to private homeowners, and that brings us back to something you and I were talking about before. That's the role of a mayor, an alderperson, or a county executive, or a county board supervisor, to be the voice for that person who does not necessarily have a lobbyist in Madison.
I hear you, I hear you.
Yeah.
So let's turn it to the opportunities before us.
Okay.
All right, so imagine that you're standing, it's 2025, and you're standing on Main Street, and you look back.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to see or experience on Main Street in 10 years?
You will see an awful lot of what you see today. A very good city planner by the name of John Gardner used to issue frequent lectures on the fact that we're a built community. This city is over 150 years old. A lot of what you see today was here 10, 15, 20. Look at the university. Old Main was built at the turn of the century. I mean, I'm talking the turn of 1899 to 1900. So an awful lot of, when I stand downtown in 10 years and I look east or west, I'm going to be looking at an awful lot of what we have today. So you say, what's the key to preserve this? To make sure that it does exist? Those are programs that have to be, you know, you look at Main Street programs, you look at downtown programs, but so much of this community is built, so much of this community is established. From a planning point of view, the planners will hate it that I say this, but it's a lot more difficult to plan long-term, tactically or strategically, in a community that's built. It's a lot easier to plan when that slate is blank, and you can start to draw in where the bicycle paths go and where this goes and the sidewalk, and build with that clean slate. So as I look east and west, it's probably going to look an awful lot, Patty, like it looks right now today.
How about East Park Commerce Center 10 years from now?
Oh, that's a great story. I'm glad you brought that up. East Park Commerce Center, thank you. You must have read my mind. I was going to mention that today. East Park Commerce Center is an excellent example of intergovernmental cooperation. And when I start to talk about that, people go, now how can that be? That's a Stevens Point Business Park. That park would not exist today if it hadn't been for the cooperative efforts of the city of Stevens Point, Portage County, working with their partners in the Village of Plover, Town of Stockton, Town of Hull, at the Sewer Service Advisory Board. Which people go, Sewer Service Advisory Board? What kind of boring thing is that? But unless that land was put into the Stevens Point Sewer Service District by that group of surrounding municipalities, that park never would have been built or possible. So we're glad we got that done in my third term, and it's an opportunity, as former Mayor Halverson used to say, it's one of the largest shovel-ready parks. It's just a matter of we're all aggressively, hopefully, those who are our partners marketing it. But right now, things are a little tender in the state as far as, you know, people who want to build 400, 500, 600, you know, job opportunities. Most of the job creation, as you well know, occurs for folks that are creating jobs for fewer than 25 people.
So
there'll be businesses there. In your, what would that be, your fifth term by then?
Oh, stop. Stop, very funny. So, all right, one more thing. Let's just ask you to reflect on where's your favorite place in Stevens Point?
I have two favorite places. I love Bucco Park and I love Iverson Park.
Where in those two
Oh,
parks?
wandering them. My wife and I just love to wander the parks, the trails, the Green Circle. Love to sit down at Iverson Park by the water as it's running. I mean, I have liked Iverson Park since I got here in the 70s. So it's just a great spot, and Bucco's nice. So I've always had, as Tom Schrader, our Director of Parks and Recreation, would tell you, I've always had a real soft spot for our Parks and Recreation forestry program. I mean, award-winning programs. I mean, our city forester just received another national award as we're filming this program. Those are my two favorite spots to wander around with my wife.
So let's say, next question for you.
Okay.
So let's say that you have an opportunity right now to share with us, what do you hope people remember about Gary Wescott as mayor or interim mayor? What do you hope they remember most? Not like it's not going to be some contributions that you make after April 2015, certainly, but what do you...
Well, that's an excellent question. You do so much in 12 years. I know that when I reflected in '07 and gave basically a swan song to the Common Council, it was a rather lengthy speech. We had added hundreds of acres to the city of Stevens Point. We had created the paramedic program, which is one of my pet projects, is a person in your office remembers, Jamie Gabert, because she might have been involved in helping on that. We've added hundreds of acres to our park system, including 40-some at the university. We did so much for the Green Circle Trail. We added a number of trails to the Green Circle Trail. We worked aggressively in so many areas that it's almost tough to pick out one and say, what will he be remembered for? I don't know. Maybe he'll be remembered as somebody who was fair, honest, completely transparent. I mean, I had a reporter tell me a few years ago that even if I disagreed with you, even if I felt your position was totally wrong, I knew that was exactly your position on the matter. You were always completely open and honest and would tell people, this is my thinking and this is why I feel that way. So I don't know. We'll let the historians figure that one out.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to ask, though. So what's your wish for the new mayor, whomever that ends up being?
Well, they've got their work cut out for them. And certainly one of the most interesting things, my wish is success. My wish for the new mayor as they continue to build on the successes of the past, that they will work. Keep in mind, there's the real possibility that the new mayor, besides being brand new, will have 7 new alderpersons. So you're going to have quite a number of new folks on the Common Council. You'll have a brand new mayor. And my advice today would be patient and give yourself time to learn.
Wonderful. And what are you going to leave on the desk for the new mayor?
I'll leave a long note. Which is kind of customary. I left a long letter for Andrew Howerson when he was elected. Andrew left a nice letter for me when I came back. It was really interesting because I had led Andrew through the transition in '07, and nobody thought that Andrew would lead me back through a transition 7.5 years later. So it was kind of a cute letter, and I'll leave a similar letter for the new mayor. And of course, I'll be available as a resource, as someone they can call, talk to. I benefited greatly when I was in my first term by being able to sit down with former mayors and talk to them. I've said this before. Mayor Scott Schultz, may he rest in peace, but he frequently would say, unless you've actually sat in that chair, you don't really have a sense of what this job is, and I respected that. And he was a wonderful mentor. Mayor Gil Halverson was a wonderful mentor, and I benefited from their advice for years, and hopefully the community was beneficial of getting good advice from former mayors.
And I've appreciated how you've reached out to me and when I came into office to offer any other perspective that you felt that I could benefit from. So
well, I'll be a private citizen soon, so give me a call if you need anything. So.
Well, listen, I just want to thank you on behalf of everybody here in Portage County. Stepping into interim roles isn't an easy thing for sure, but we knew that, again, you are well qualified for the job, and you've really helped to continue to guide us forward, and that is really important. And I think people really do respect the fact that they can tell it like it is, and you will listen, and that, you know, together we try to do our best to make it a better place. So thank you for all of that, and I wish you well in the days after your interimness.
Thank you. It's very kind of you. Thank you for having me today in your program.
You're welcome. Next month we're going to talk about caregiver support, so I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you, Gary.